Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Today, or I should say this week, because this is a more than one day build, this week we are going to revisit a project that I did a year, maybe two, I don't remember, in the past. And that is the coffee pod or K-cup shelf. Okay, you know, coffee pods, K-cups, those wonderful little plastic things that you put into a machine and push a button and the sweet nectar, otherwise known as coffee, comes out the bottom. Okay, the reason I built the first one is because I hate the plastic drawer system that we have. I built that one for a specific spot in a specific house out of a specific wood. It was not going to fit in the house that we moved to. So we gifted that. Now I have to build another one. This one is going to be made out of pine. I know. But all my cabinets in there are pine, so it's going to be made out of pine. I thought that this is what I had to work with, and that was terrifying for a couple of reasons. One, these boards are all warped and nasty, but I forgot that I had bought these fine specimens of pine. This one's a little different, as I do have some plans that I'm working off of. Now, these are plans that I drew up, so there is still subject for mess ups. But at least now I sort of have an idea as to what I need to cut, where I need to cut it, and how I need to cut it. The one that I built previously, I was just shooting from the hip on the whole thing. And I learned a couple of things from that that I will get into later. But for now, I know what you're all thinking. Shut up, Pastor, and get on with the build. I get it. Okay, so I'm going to be explaining what I'm doing, and I'm going to be calling out numbers, which are going to be my measurements. These may or may not apply to you if you're going to build one of these, because every kitchen is different, every space is different. I am going to have 1, 2, 3 shelves just to hold coffee cups, because apparently in my house that's what we do. We collect coffee cups. There's better things to collect, like gold bars. Anyway, you may only want 1 shelf, so this can all be adapted. Okay, and the width of my shelves may be different than what you want. So when I say I have to cut 2 uprights at 31, that 31 might be different than you. Okay, I have it marked over to the saw. Still has a stop block on it. I don't ever clean up after one project before starting the next. All right, I'm going to cut this at 31. I'm going to do this in 2 measurements, okay? And here's why. Because you cut this one at 31. If you've already marked your next one, you're going to lose an 1/8 inch because of the kerf of the blade. I prefer to cut one, remeasure, cut that one. I know these will both be the same. Okay, so next I have to cut, how many? Where are we at? 4 shelves. I need to cut 4 shelves. This is the scrap that is remaining from my uprights. Unfortunately, that's not long enough. Didn't really plan that out too well. A little hint that I've seen this on someone else's channel, Fisher's Shop. If you've never watched his channel, check him out. He's hilarious. But he always takes a piece of blue tape and he marks his pieces so they don't get confused. And I don't know how many times I've never done that. All of them, basically, all of them, never. But it's a great idea. So I'm incorporating it here because my shelves and my uprights are pretty close to the same size, and I don't want it. I'm confused enough. Don't need no more. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my shelves. It turns out these are 35 1/4. I am using rabbet joints or dado joints, whatever you want to call them. And so there's math involved in that. You have to take that into consideration for your overall width. Okay, so mine comes out to 35 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and cut, how many did I say? 4 of those. Okay, 4 shelves cut, just like that, right? It was amazing. Went ahead and marked them because, you know, I have 2 of the actual K-cup shelves, what's actually holding the coffee pods. I'm not cutting those yet because I actually don't know what that width is going to be. Because they're going to be on an angle, which of course is going to change the width of those shelves. So those are to be determined. It says that right here, to be determined. That's why I said that. Once I get this all into place, dry fitted, then I can say, oh, okay, that slot is this width. That's what I need to cut it at. So now I need to cut these, speaking of width, down to width, because these are 1x6s, which means they're 5.5 inches wide, which isn't the width that I want. I think we're actually going with 4.5. We're going with 4.5 because coffee cups. And there needs to be I'll call it a backing board or a wall attacher that is going to take up part of that space. So we don't want the cups hanging out over the edge. That's mercy. You don't want them falling. Okay, with those cut down, now I need to start thinking about, hey, what are you doing there? I need to start thinking about where my rabbet joints are going to go, which fortunately I wrote it down. You need to understand, when I say that I have plans, it took me 3 hours to draw these, and 5 sheets of paper to draw these plans up. One, because I'm not good at it, and two, because I would find a mistake and throw that one away. And anyway, so there's going to be a top shelf across the whole thing that is going to house nothing. The first shelf down is going to be 6 inches. And so I need my rabbet joint, dado joint, that thing, to be 6 inches down from the very top. So actually I need to cut the top first, which means I need to get the accurate thickness of the shelves and run a dado joint across the top. From that dado joint down 6 inches to the next, and then from the bottom of that joint down 5 inches to the next, and so on and so on and so on. And so what I have found is that I am far more accurate cutting dado joints on the miter saw than I am the table saw. Plus, I think it's quicker because instead of having to deal with putting a dado set on and all of that, I can just set the depth on the miter saw and just go to it. To me, it just seems like it's quicker. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the saw is set up correctly and go ahead and cut all my dados down to the coffee pod shelves. Okay. And then we'll figure out what we're doing from there. Even with safety glasses, it tried to get me. Okay, so you can kind of see this is my dry fit. I'm so happy with my dado joints this time. I know you can't see me, but I can see you. Doing them on the miter saw works so much better. They're all fitting so nice. They are completely in line with each other. That's going to be my go-to now. Now, for the coffee pod shelves, this is not, can you even see that? This is not the shelf, but I went with some kind of weird angle before, and just because I thought it was nice. But I'd love to just do this at a basic, 45 if I can get square here. I can't get square. Here. So just a basic, somewhere in that ballpark, 45-degree angle. And this is where I say these shelves are going to be a different width. I marked it the opposite direction because that's the way I was working. Whereas these shelves are 4.5, you put that on a 45, that shelf all of a sudden becomes a measurement that my tape measure doesn't want to measure. That quickly becomes 6 inches, or in that ballpark. So, which is going to be interesting because these are not 6 inches. I think I have some of that scrap wood that's by 8. That would give me the width. But anyway, that's what I have to do now. I have to figure out the placement of these, and then go ahead and cut these out. And we're rolling along. I'm getting a lot further today than I thought I was going to. I have a little bit of time tomorrow to work on this also, before the wifey poo gets home from up north. I would like to have this hanging in the kitchen when she gets home. So let me get the placement figured out and we'll get these cut and then we're on to the next step. Okay, so again, this is dry fit. This is my coffee pod shelf where the K-cups themselves go. I do have another provision for the shelf down below it, but if I put it in, it won't sit right. I did not go with a 45-degree angle. Decided to go with what turned out to be a 25-degree angle, and here's the reason. I did that for a couple reasons. 45 seemed really steep, and while that would have worked, it was kind of unnecessary, and it would have been difficult to space these equally, let's put it that way. And by going with a 20, and this is more important, by going with a 25-degree angle, I am able to use the full width of that final board that I have. And so I didn't have to use some of the other wood, because last time I combined wood from 2 different stores, I had trouble with that. I think it was the shelving unit I built for the house. So that's all good. I'm going to let this be for tonight. I'm going to go get cleaned up, grab something to eat, and I've got some stuff to do tonight. I will be back out here at some point tomorrow where we get to drill holes. Surprise, it's actually a week later, if not more. Vacation. You know, guy got to go on vacation once in a while. I don't remember where I was at. I went back and looked through some of the previous videos up to this point, and I know I'm having a heck of a time explaining the spacing on these holes. Maybe I cut that out of the video. Maybe I didn't. For your sake, I hope I did. Last shot at explaining the holes. Okay. 2 rows. All my holes are drilled. For the love of pizza. Anyway, 2 rows of holes. If you want 2 rows of holes, 2 rows of holes. We drink a lot of coffee, so we want 2. Decide how far from the edge you want the outside of your pod to rest. In my case, I believe I went a 1/2 inch because I'm going to router this edge. Okay, regardless. So from that 1/2 inch, your pods are 1 3/4 inches, so you need to measure up a 1/2 of that, which is 7/8. So from however far you want them in, 7/8. Make a line all the way across. Okay. Now, I start in the center. Okay. Your spacing from center to center of this row of holes is 1 1/4 inches. Okay. If you start in the center, just get yourself a caliper and go doink, 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 1 1/4 inches all the way across. These will be perfectly spaced. Okay. Your pods won't be overlapping each other. Now you have the problem of getting to this second row. Okay. From the line that you made for your first row, measure up 2 1/8. I know that's not what I said for the first row, and here's why. Because you need spacing in between. Trust me on this. I messed up. 2 1/8 coming up. Now, how do you know where your offset is? Before you drill your first holes, you can lay this whole thing out in one shot. Before you drill these holes, just take any of those 2 dots, measure directly in between. Okay. Measure from that line up 2 1/8. Mark that. That is where the center of your first hole on the second row is going to be. Okay. This, even to me, this sounds confusing, but trust me, it works. So whatever your distance is from there up, it's 7/8. Make a line, straight line all the way across the board. From that line, measure up to 2 1/8. That's the center of your second row. From the center, you know, if you're starting in the center, I don't know where my center is. It's right here somewhere. Okay. 1 1/4 inches between these 2. Okay. Find the center of that, measure straight up, and mark that on your second line. That is the center of that hole. Again, 1 1/4 inches. Boom, you're done. Start drilling. That's the best I can do. Now, also off camera, because I did sneak out for one day in between, but I wasn't ready for vacation. I had to get ready. The way these sit in the uprights, I had boards sticking out the back. So I went ahead and cut these so that they would be flush. I think I have a clip of that. Now I am down to sanding, I think. One other little tip. Obviously, I had these marked as to what they were. In your dado joint, write what it is in here, because when I fit this together, it fit beautifully. I want it to fit beautifully again. So I have U, R with an arrow facing this way. This means that this is the upright for the right-hand side. This is the front, okay? On the shelves, all I did was mark it on the end where the glue is going to go.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
No, I cannot try again. Anyway, on the shelves, I just marked it on the end where the glue is going to go. That way, I want it all to go together the way it did the first time I put it together. So now I just need to sand. Oh, before I do that, I have to route my shelves. I have a little bit of work to do yet, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to get started with that. Okay, another new day. I came out yesterday for a little bit, and the only thing I did was route my shelves, put the design on the front of the shelves that I wanted to do, and then stopped because life is busy. Today I came out earlier and ran an 1/8 inch round over all the holes. That's all I've done so far. You haven't missed, and that's a lie. I cut this, and I'm glad I did because I almost forgot. I need to add, I'll call it a wall hanging board or something, whatever you want to call it, across the back, and that's what's going to attach to the wall. Now, I don't want to just stick it on there. I need to cut another dado for this, and then have it set in. That way it's not sticking out from the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the miter saw, same as I did for all of these dados. This is 1.5 inches. I'm going to double check that. Can't see nothing. It's actually a 1/16 under. My bench is a mess because I changed my router table around again, and I'll show you that later. Anyway, so I need to figure out, this is just a matter of where do you want to put it. I don't necessarily, I guess I could put it right in the middle of this top area. I guess it's not going to matter, except that there is a giant knot right there in that board. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to move it down to in between this shelf and, whoa, this shelf and this shelf. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get that set up. That's going to be 3/4 deep so that it sets in flat. And then we're down to the fun part. Okay, got that cut. Funny thing, my miter saw, if I stand these up, I don't have a stop for that. I had to, come up with something, which was double side taping a piece of wood to the stop so that it gets me where anyway. So that's done. This fits in there. Like I said, it fits in there. Okay, perfect. Might be a smidgen deep from the look of it, but that's okay. It'll still work because the walls in there are not flat. Now for the fun part, I'm going to sand. I'm not going to put you through that. And then glue up. Yay. Okay, now it's everybody's favorite time. No, I'm sorry, that's sanding. No, this is the glue up. No easy way to do this. Do I have my clamps ready? Probably not. Okay, that's okay. I'm just going to smear the glue, stand these up, put the shelves in. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shelves to try and arrange all at the same time. What could possibly go wrong? It's backwards, you idiot. No, it's not. What have I done? It seems as though I made a horrible, tragic mistake. It was bound to happen. I don't know why you're surprised. Um, yeah, this should be down here. Great. Now I got to do things like see how many scraps I got left. I got glue in all the joints already. Hey, this is how it goes when you're woodworking. 80% of woodworking is figuring out how to fix your mistakes. So to fix this mistake, I'm going to shut it down for the night. Okay, new day. I've had all night to think about this tragic mistake that I made. I may have been off on my percentages. On the internet, it says that 90% of all percentages are actually incorrect. I don't know if that's true or not, but Google said so. It didn't. I made that up. How do you handle a mistake in woodworking? I said 80% of woodworking is fixing your mistakes. That number's probably not right. If you're a good woodworker, you don't make mistakes. But anyway, I figured that there's 3 different ways that you can handle a mistake when you're woodworking. 1, you can start over. You can make the piece over. Whatever the piece is that you messed up, just make a new one. That's great. I didn't have extra wood for this project. I have some extra pine. It's not the same grain. Nothing about it is the same. So didn't want to do that. Plus, like I said before, I ran into problems when I used woods from 2 different stores. I don't know why, but I did. The other thing you can do is highlight it. Highlight your mistake. Now, I don't mean like draw an arrow and say, look, I screwed up. Not that. My wife and I were talking about this last night, and I've done this long enough that she knows all my tricks. And we both thought, put an accent piece in there. I have some Brazilian cherry. And she said, what if you just put that in and make it an accent? Which was a great idea. If this piece was just getting clear coated, what I call natural, that would have been great. But I have to stain this to match the cabinets in the house. So while it would still contrast, I think it would take away the vibrancy of that contrast. But you can highlight it. You can make it an accent piece. If it's something that's on the edge of a board, you can put a round over or a chamfer or something like that on it, and sort of not accent the mistake, but again, accent, make it look like you meant to do that. There's a third option, and this is the option that I'm going with, and that is you can try to hide the mistake, try to repair it and make it look like it never happened. That's the option that I chose to go with. It's currently 12:30. I've been out here since 9:30 or 10 o'clock, I don't remember, working on fixing the mistake. So I'll bring you around here where I'm at. I'll throw the project up on the table and I'll let you look at what I did. Okay, and I realize on camera it's not going to show up as well. I'll do what I can to help you out here. I am going to bring you over here first. Okay, and then I'm going to zoom you in. Holy cow, that's a lot of zoom. All right, so you can see, obviously, there's a line right here. So you can see that, okay? Not great. But if you look on the front, I tried to get the grain to match. Let me get you straight on here. So from the front, which is what you're going to be looking at, yes, there's still a line on the top and bottom. And again, my wife knows my tricks. She said, do the glue and sawdust trick, which I did, and it filled it in most of the way. But if you're going to do this, try and find the grain that is close to matching as you can. And that'll help. And again, on the outside, obviously, there are some lines. A lot of that's going to go away when I stain this. But grain match. It's not 100% perfect, but right there's the piece I put in. So I went out of my way to try and find a piece of grain that matches as close as I could get it. All of this has to be resanded. Um, and so I might do another glue trick. This circle that you see, that's from the clamps. When working with pine, you should put another piece of wood over top of it because pine is going to mold to your clamps. But that's your options. You can try to, you can make a new piece, which I couldn't do. You can highlight it or accent it, or you can try to hide it. So that's how I handle mistakes. So with all of that said, this again is just in dry fit form. I did sand everything, as you saw, and started putting it together when I realized my mistake. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue this up, leave it sit, go back over it again with some sanding because I see some things where the shelves are going into the dados where cutting the dado, it kind of blew it out a little bit. And so you can fill all of that too. I'm just going to do that in the front because that's where you're going to be seeing it. So there you go. You already seen me try to do a glue up and it failed, but now that I know that everything is 100% right, I'm going to go ahead and glue this up. Okay, so it's together correctly, upside down at the moment. I spent probably two or 3 hours yesterday going back over this, hand sanding everything, trying to get glue marks out, trying to fill in cracks, doing all that, getting it as close to right as I can. The color, what a nightmare. The cabinets are pine. I'd mentioned that. If you open the cabinets on the inside, it looks like they had been finished with varnish or shellac. It's got that orange look to it. Okay, I can come close to that. But if the outsides have been refinished at some point or had another coat of something put on it, it's got a much more, albeit light, a brown tone to it. So I have this old can of early American, and I don't know why, but I did a quick test piece and it's going to be as close as I'm going to get. Let's put it that way. There's no way I'm ever going to be able to match, I don't know, 60, 70-year-old cabinets. So can I just kind of get close? That's what I'm aiming for. This is not on a wall of cabinets, so that's going to help. So now I just have to get this thing stained. I'm going to do water-based urethane because I have enough of that, if that makes sense. I have a can of oil-based, which I like, but I don't have enough of it to do multiple coats on this. And the old wifey poo's getting a little bit anxious. She said, hey, you've been working on this for 2 weeks. When am I going to get to see it up in my kitchen? So water-based urethane, that'll give me an opportunity to do at least 2 coats, maybe 3 in one day. But for now, and I'm not going to film this because you don't need to see this, I'm going to go ahead and stain this whole thing. If you remember from the first one I built, it's a nightmare. Getting inside of every one of these holes is a fiasco. So pray for me. Okay, there you go. It's up. Seems pretty solid. Hasn't fallen down yet. But that's another coffee cup, coffee pod holder. This one came out pretty good. It is made out of pine. The other one was made out of cherry, but this fits this kitchen. I did not nail the color to match the cabinets. As it turns out, it needs a smidgen of orange in it. Golden oak probably would have worked, but that's okay because Mama's happy. If Mama's happy, then I'm happy. Trying to hide my mistake, I will bring you over here. Go with the big zoom. You can just kind of pick it out there. I can tell you that in person it probably is a little bit more noticeable, but with the grain match, it looks really good. Let me see if I can get to this one over here, give you a side shot. You might be able to see that one already. We bring that one in. See, you can kind of see right there where it's cut out. But again, with the grain match, it's not that bad. So, like I said, Mama's happy, and I don't have to mess with that goofy plastic drawer thing that's broken. And I can move on to the next project. So I thank you for hanging out with me for what turned out to be like 2.5 weeks. It was only a couple minutes for you guys. I do appreciate when you guys hang around and watch the video. I'll see you on the next one. God bless.